Yeah, this is an almost unbelievable series of events, Preston and Mary. Now, the parents, they own a yoga studio here in White Center, and they were in the process of swapping cars right here in this parking lot. The toddler, he was asleep in the back of one of the vehicles, and the dad went to bring his daughter out, but he forgot to lock the car door. This Nissan Leaf went on one wild ride before it ended up here on the side of the road. Owen Fitzpatrick left it running so the heat would keep his sleeping toddler warm. And the moment he stepped away, police say a man hopped into the driver's seat.
And we both run to our front door of our business, and we see our car pulling out. And that's just the moment where your stomach sinks, everything just seems like it's not real.
Fitzpatrick tried to chase it down before it left his White Center neighborhood, then convinced a stranger to hand over her car, but lost sight of the Nissan Leaf. As 911 was called, Fitzpatrick realized his phone was in the car and used the Find My Phone app to get a bearing. He took off in his wife's minivan and finally spotted the Leaf several miles away.
I try to cut him off, but he squeaks by me, and I just clip the back end of the car.
Despite the damage, the thief kept on going, weaving in and out of traffic with Fitzpatrick on his tail. At one point, they got boxed in by the traffic, and Fitzpatrick made his move.
And at that point, I just get out of my van, and I run around, and he has his window down, and I just grab a hold of him, start beating on him a little bit.
Other drivers jumped in thinking Fitzpatrick was the attacker, but quickly realized he was only retrieving his stolen car and kidnapped son. Police showed up and arrested the suspect while Fitzpatrick held on to the boy.
Obviously, I'm so grateful that he's there and not hurt or anything.
All the way down. All the way down.
That is the voice of Morgan Zion, standing her ground from an attacker.
We have you on video. We're sending it to the cops. And I hate to be the person to say, oh, Seattle's gotten so much worse. But it has.
Just 2 weeks ago, Morgan and her friend were running the House Street stairs in Capitol Hill. Then, a man in crisis blocked their path, demanding drugs. He started swinging.
I ducked a little bit, but then he punched me again. I just kind of went into mother attack mode and just grabbed him by the shirt and kind of put him down. Keep going.
Morgan eventually chased him out of the area, but she wasn't sure how much force she could legally use.
I didn't know the right decision to make and the right move to make either. And that is the worst place for me to be in.
And more people are in that same place, worried they're on their own when it comes to defending themselves against random crime. 300 SPD officers have ditched the department, and Seattle's violent crime this year has already surpassed all of 2020.
By the time they get there, it's too late.
Let's go. Beautiful.
They're now trying to give themselves a fighting chance.
Good.
Carolyn Lai is one of the newest members of this La Tosa Eskrima self-defense class at Seattle Close Range Tactics.
Good.
She was attacked years ago. She's sharpening her skills.
I think every woman in particular should absolutely take some type of self-defense of any sort.
It goes again here. Boom.
The class is designed for sudden extreme violence.
Yes.
Head instructor Corey Walken calls it self-defense for the streets.
The goal is to survive. It's not to beat them up.
The longtime expert says he's seen more people taking his class. It could also be COVID-related.
I think there's an uptick in people taking their own personal responsibility to defend themselves.
Then there are those who want to take their protection to another level.
This one's a great self-defense firearm, mostly because it is a small, compact firearm.
Linwood gun owner Tiffany Teasdale says since the pandemic started, they've seen an 80% rise in first-time gun buyers armed with questions.
They are saying, I never thought in my wildest dreams I would ever buy a gun, and here I am standing here buying a gun.
With more guns and arms, the staff emphasizes safety and education first.
We're seeing less officers on the street and a longer response time. So it makes people think, well, maybe I should just find a way to defend myself instead of having to wait for somebody to come and defend me.
But being prepared may not keep you out of legal trouble.
Unfortunately, I've seen individuals make incorrect decisions, and it costs them legally.
Washington gun law attorney William Kirk says, in our state, you have no duty to retreat if someone attacks you and you're legally where you're supposed to be. But the force has to be proportional.
You don't get to bring a gun to a fist fight. The amount of force that you use to defend yourself has to be proportional to the amount of force that you are protecting yourself from.
When it comes to guns, he says you can only use deadly force in self-defense when you're in imminent danger of death or serious bodily injury.
Yes, while you have a Second Amendment right to protect yourself with a firearm, it is a right that comes with a huge level of responsibility.
As for Morgan, she's climbed to a new level of understanding about how to stand her ground.
I'm like more hyper aware than I even ever have been before.
In Seattle, Tammy Watasa, KOMO News.
For the Seattle police budget had the interim police chief and the outgoing Seattle City Council president squaring off today. Lorena Gonzalez wants to cut 101 vacant officer positions, and she accused the chief of fear-mongering in a video message he released. KOMO's Cole Miller joins us live to break this all down for us, as well as the results of tonight's vote. Cole?
Mary, there is a lot to unpack here, a lot of moving pieces with this. That last-minute amendment from Gonzalez sought to cut those unfilled positions. During this meeting, she was insistent that SPD had no intention of filling them and that this would only bloat their budget if this amendment wasn't passed. Ultimately, however, the council struck that amendment down. Policing in Seattle has been and continues to be a topic of contention. And that was all too clear yet again today with City Council President Lorena Gonzalez pushing to eliminate 101 vacant officer jobs during an hours-long discussion over next year's budget.
Nothing in this budget or in my amendment proposes firing, laying off, or otherwise eliminating funded and filled sworn officer positions.
It no doubt caught the attention of Interim Chief Adrian Diaz, responding in a recorded message, in his words, saying it would permanently eliminate those posts.
This would greatly jeopardize the safety of our communities and have long-term impacts on investigating violent crimes and caring for our most vulnerable.
And Gonzalez quickly fired back, saying the department's funding should reflect its actual staff, without money for those openings.
He is apparently demanding a blank check and zero fiscal accountability or scrutiny.
As the debate continued, others thought doing away with those dollars sent the wrong message.
Rather than cutting the currently vacant positions, I would urge us to instead focus on expanding reforms by revamping the police union contract.
And when the dust settled, 5 council members voted against it, with 4 in favor.
The motion fails and the amendment is not adopted.
Hi, everyone. I'm Preston Phillips from KOMO News. Thanks for checking out the KOMO YouTube channel. You can see more of our videos right here by clicking on the video links for more news from the Seattle area and Western Washington. Oh, and don't forget to click the subscribe button below so you don't miss our YouTube updates.